'cause I love this land. It takes my breath away.
Welcome to Texas 10. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Steve.
And we have been traveling the roads of Texas for the last 5 years and seeing great things.
We have seen lots of great things. And Texas is a big state, obviously.
Big state.
Different parts of the country. Let's talk about something that, or an area in Texas that we haven't given enough heed to yet.
Let's go down south to Laredo.
Laredo, Texas, and counties surrounding Laredo. That's obviously it's in the southwest part of Texas where the little, I don't know exactly what you call it.
Little thing.
Right. The tail of Texas. Tail, that's a good one.
There you go.
The tail of Texas juts down towards Mexico. Laredo and Eagle Pass, which we're going to talk about today too, they're both border counties. The Rio Grande obviously bisects Texas and Mexico, and they both run right up to the Rio Grande.
Which brings me to some great memories, Steve. When I was in high school, I can remember going to Laredo to go shopping. And we would go to Laredo, and then we would cross over into Nuevo Laredo and all the markets and the Mexican dresses. We came back with lots of Mexican dresses, and it was just fun.
Well, the Mexican dress era was right at its height during high school.
It was, and I had an entire wardrobe of Mexican dresses that I then later wore as when I was expecting Kelsey, so they doubled beautifully. But they were beautiful towns, fun. I just remember having so much fun going. And so I will tell you, when we got to Laredo and we started walking downtown, it was nostalgic, but it's also a little bit sad because the downtown area is not quite the marketplace area that it used to be.
Well, I don't want to get all political, but obviously immigration is an issue in Texas in particular. And we've been now to all of the big border towns. And one of the things I think that escapes us sometimes is how big the metropolitan areas are. Because in Laredo, you have Nuevo Laredo. In Eagle Pass, you have Piedras Negras right across. And especially in El Paso, you have Juarez right across.
Right.
And the towns on the Mexican side are actually bigger than the towns on the Texas side. And so you have a market, when you talk about market, an economic market of hundreds of thousands, or in El Paso's case, of several million people. And because of our immigration issues, we've sort of shut that down. And so you don't get all of the traffic back and forth that you remember. And lots of Texans remember going over the border and doing the exact things you're talking about. In fact, in Laredo, many Texans remember going across to the Cadillac Bar in Nuevo Laredo. And there's all sorts of legends about the Cadillac Bar. Unfortunately, about 3 years ago, it shut down.
Well, I did not go to the Cadillac Bar because
I
was
hope
either
not.
with your mom or my mom. But to get on a happier start, we were kind of sad we forgot our passports, so we couldn't cross over into Nuevo Laredo because when we were kids, all you needed was your driver's license. But anyway, so we really focused on the city. And even though the downtown, a lot of the shops are not and the shopping is not as active as it used to be, they actually have a huge outlet mall there that's beautiful. It's right on the river. But the city itself is beautiful. And one of the things that I loved the most were the squares, the plazas.
So it is an archetype of the Spanish colonization, and there, like you said, there are plazas all over. They're big, they're expansive, and they're really town centers, which I don't think, even when we have our parks in the middle, I don't think people appreciate them. But people have their lunches there, and if there's an event, people talk about events there, and they were very, very active, and in particular the one in downtown Laredo that at night is lit up. It's gorgeous.
Beautiful. St. Augustine Plaza, that's where the St. Augustine Cathedral is, and we were there on Easter. And one of the things that I want to talk about is the Way of the Cross. We've seen the Way of the Cross in Rome, and now we've seen it in Laredo, and it is moving and beautiful, and to see that Catholic community come together, it was very, very touching.
It was, and so it was on Good Friday that we were there, and it was at St. Augustine, again, a beautiful church. And there were hundreds of people, and they had taken their time out of their day, and you could tell how devout they were and how much it meant to them. There were people that became very emotional during it, and it was beautifully done, too, I thought. And so that was the universality of it, seeing it in Rome, knowing that the same thing happens here and really all over the United States and all over the world, that was very cool.
It really was. And down on that same plaza is a beautiful hotel. I always mess up the names.
La Posada.
La Posada. I wanted to call it La Fonda. It is not La Fonda. It is the La Posada Hotel, and it used to be the high school, and they've redone it. And again, it is beautiful. It has this pool area. All the rooms are built in around a courtyard, and just beautiful. But that was not your favorite part of La Posada.
No, my favorite part was the bar at La Posada makes the perfect on the rocks margarita. I know that's a bold claim, but we're there in the afternoon. We were having a relaxed time, and man, was it a good margarita. So that's one of my number one recommendations in Laredo. Stay at the La Posada. We didn't do that for some reason, but two, get yourself an on the rocks margarita at La Posada.
Do you think that's why they have the siestas? Because they go drink the margarita and then you need the siesta?
I was ready for a siesta, but we didn't take one.
No, we did not, because there was too much to see and do. Also, if you want great, authentic Mexican food, it's there. The best Mexican food breakfast. The breakfast.
Well, it's interesting that you're having a hard time speaking English, because when we went to Obregon's, which is one of the highlight breakfasts place, and it was sensational Mexican breakfast. Our high school Spanish didn't really carry us through, and that's really all they spoke there. And that is an interesting aspect of it, is like we lived in Germany for 3.5 years. The area we lived in, everybody spoke English. You have to navigate a little bit in Laredo at a couple of the places where there was no English spoken, but the food spoke loud enough. And so we went, the places we went to were Obregon's and Las Flores.
Las Flores was great too.
And man, both of them just knocked it out of the park. And I will say, I want to go back to Laredo because San Antonio and Austin sort of lay claim to best Mexican food, and they have obviously thousands of places, but I don't think Tex-Mex gets any better than what we had in Laredo, and there's lots more places to try.
Incredibly authentic, great food. We just weren't there long enough to eat our way through Laredo, even though my friends were texting me all the places to go. I have friends that are from that area.
The other place we ate that was cool was the La Posada's steakhouse. It's called the Tack Room. And what I liked about it, the food was great, but what I really liked about it is you can sit on the balcony and overlook the plaza. And it was a pleasant night, and it's all lit up, and it was very relaxing, had a great meal, very romantic.
It was so romantic. Yeah. But there's so much others to see. We went out to the Texas A&M International Campus, and they had a wonderful planetarium. Unfortunately, it was closed, but it looks great, and they have all kinds of things. We went out to their park, the lake.
The International Park.
Yes, and it had this beautiful building. So many people were having their portraits made at it because it was just so beautiful. There wasn't a lot about it, but it was old. It was kind of a little bit of a ruin.
Just a cool building.
It was. And it was built around the inside. You could tell it used to have a courtyard. It was really pretty. So much to see.
Well, the last thing they had a great theater, an old theater downtown, which I love, but the thing okay, go ahead.
Oh, I almost forgot.
Right.
There is an art gallery downtown, an art center, and there was this artist, and his name was Ortiz. And it was very cultural, Mexican culture. My favorite was a Mexican man wearing a shirt that said, "I hate mariachis, but I love mariachis." And there was also the one that said, "Mamacitas, I miss you already." But his artwork was it just captured kind of the Mexican culture, and it was kind of a pop art style. I really loved Ortiz's work.
Okay, I did too. Ortiz is doing well by the prices on the work.
I did not get
We
one.
didn't come home with an Ortiz, although if we check our lottery tickets, maybe that would be the first thing we go for. Okay, so we did Laredo in 10 minutes, all right?
We did.
We did. I mean, on the show, it took us a weekend to do Laredo when we were there. But there's areas around it, and so we're going to stretch Texas 10 for you a little bit today to talk about Crystal City, Carrizo Springs, and Eagle Pass.
Well, let's start with Eagle Pass. I thought it had the old flavor that I remembered of Laredo. It's a much smaller border town, and it has a downtown market, and it had an old grocery store that I don't know if you remember, you walk in and there's just a smell that you smell all the produce. I just love it. Loved that. Loved their open air markets. Their downtown was really bustling.
Right. And if you wanted flowers or Mexican dresses or things like that, and it was an interesting study because when you come in, there's only one way into Eagle Pass from the American side, and when you first come into the city, it's a suburb, it looks like. I mean, we lived in Richardson. It could have been Richardson. Right. There's a big, huge H-E-B and just things
all the fast food.
Right, all of that sort of stuff. And so we were thinking, and you hear a lot about how that sort of development kills a downtown. But lo and behold, Eagle Pass's downtown is really thriving.
People were shopping. And then we also walked down. They have a beautiful park on the river. Now it's actually a post for the National Guard.
The Texas
National Guard.
The Texas National Guard.
And we were able to talk to several of the National Guardsmen. And they
great guys, by the way.
They were all Texan, had a great time. But it was a little slow for them.
Right.
There was really not much going on, which is, I guess a good thing.
Yeah.
And then you could see the bridge going over into Mexico. And then there was their pretty little church. And
the prettiest thing about Eagle Pass is their courthouse.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And they have a matching post office right next to it. And it's one of the prettiest courthouses. It's very authentic to the region, and it's got palm trees in front, which for some reason I like palm trees in front of a courthouse.
but not other trees, I will tell you.
Right. Palm trees are tall and they don't hide the courthouse.
Right.
Gotcha. So that was gorgeous. And then, it was surprising. There wasn't immediately available like a ton of what we would consider a Mexican restaurant we would go to. So we went to a hole in the wall.
It was. Everybody was just using it as a drive-through. Montego's Tacos. Oh, we've
You know what?
That.
When you go to texas10.com, you'll get the exact name and location if you look in the Eagle Pass field guide of this great hole-in-the-wall restaurant.
Anyway, great street tacos right off of downtown. And you forgot to add that it's not a post office anymore. Now it's the library.
Right. It was, I think.
But let's go on. So I loved Eagle Pass. But then Crystal City and Carrizo Springs are smaller. Crystal City, you're going to be surprised, has a large statue of Popeye. And why Popeye? Steve?
Well, Crystal City is the spinach capital of Texas, the United States, the world. I don't know exactly, but they make a lot of spinach in that county, and they have a spinach festival.
So one of our things we want to do after we finish all of our counties, we've been to, at this point, this taping, 234.
Right.
We have 20 left. But then I want to go to all the festivals. So I think we might have to go back to the spinach festival.
I'll be Popeye, you'll be olive oil.
You think there's a spinach queen?
I bet there is a spinach queen, and she probably gets to look like olive oil.
Right. And then we went over to Carrizo Springs, which is a nice little town.
In both of those places, the interesting thing to me is how rugged the country is. Now, first of all, it is in the area, like when you travel in the highways, the state highways, you're going to run into inspection stations where they want you to pull over and look at your car and all that sort of stuff for immigration purposes. And the idea that people traverse that country is really sort of scary. Because it's a long way to get to the main highway from the border, and there's not a lot in there, and it's tough country. And then both of those sort of take you back to what it was like when it was settled in the 1800s. And it's just really remarkable that people said this is where we're going to stake our claim, I think. And they've done it. They've made it work. Those are great little communities. But Eagle Pass and Laredo are probably the places you want to visit.
Well, we are over our Texas 10.
Well, that's because we got 4 counties today. So it's
right.
okay.
But we hope you will continue to join us and go to our website. And
Texas10.com. Right. Go to all of our social media stuff. Like us on YouTube. Subscribe to us. Do all of those things. But most of all, just tell people about Texas 10 and what you can learn.
We hope to see you again soon.
Bye.
About you, and I love this land. It takes my breath away. From the Palo Duro to the Gulf Coast plain, from the heart of the hill country to the piney wood shade, I love this land. It takes my breath away.